Welcome back, people, to the first video of 2024. I hope you're all well. Hope you're all having a great start to your new year. In this one, we're going to be breaking down how you can get a simple interview looking the absolute best it can possibly be. It's pretty much a staple as a filmmaker. You're going to have to shoot an interview at some point, but shooting an interview and shooting an interview well are two very different things. In this video, I'm going to break down a really simple two-camera interview setup, but walk you through some of the decisions that were made to make it elevated in its production value. And you can take some of these tactics and strategies and implement them into how you shoot your own interviews. Many of these things are really small little details that just add that extra 1% in the quality of your work. So what's the setup then? For this particular interview, it's featuring Tony Mowbray, the new Birmingham City Football Club manager. We got the call up saying we've got the new manager, can you come down and shoot an interview with him? A bit last minute, we had to do it same day. So we didn't have the luxury of location scouting and all that stuff. So often before shooting an interview, it's good to your location and make sure that you are happy with what it looks like. However, sometimes you have to do things on the fly. You have to act quickly. You have to work with the environment that you're given. And this is a perfect example of one of those. So without further ado, let's jump into the breakdown. Okay, so first up, let's just break down this A angle here. First thing, let's just take into consideration the framing of this shot. We're following the rule of thirds where we've got the frame broken into almost like a noughts and crosses, and we're putting our subject where his eye and the focal point of attention is on one of the thirds. This is a really commonly used strategy in filmmaking. You'll see this. So where you want your audience to focus their attention, you place it on one of these thirds here. And if we look at this B angle here, we break this into thirds. This follows the same strategy. The focal point is positioned there or thereabouts on that third there. And what this means is when you cut between the A angle and the B angle, the focus area of the eye is staying in the exact same place. Now, just looking into this A angle a little bit more, what else are some of the considerations in there? We're in this environment. We are in the middle of a football season for the club that we're shooting this for, and we scoped the environment to have a look at what we could use as a backdrop that would help bolster the message that they're trying to get across. So the club has had a bit of a challenging season and they want to put out a good message to the fans. So what subtle subliminal message can we add in there? We saw this on the wall: "We will journey on." A nice simple message that's synonymous with the tone of the interview itself. And these little things just help build a bit of character into the frame, make this frame have more context of the individual, what they're going to be discussing, and bring it to life a little bit more. Just a very simple, subtle thing. The other thing is it was a very well lit gym, but what we observed is there was lighting fixtures, and these were giving a really nice little shaft of light over here, and there's another shaft of light over there, and that was organically coming from the lighting fixtures, so we opted to work with those. And it's important to take note of the light in the environment, because this can inform the direction that you're going to light your subject. So on this particular frame, an audience can see that the light is coming in from this direction here, which is implied by that shaft of light, which is motivating the lighting on his face coming from this direction here. And this is really important because for a viewer, when they're watching something on a video, if you can, as a filmmaker, make it look as organic as possible, it's going to be easier for somebody to consume it. It's going to feel more natural, more real, and it's going to give an extra level of elevation to your production value. This is the reason why people use practicals, which would be a light, for example, and that would motivate the direction of the light. On other occasions, you might use a window. So if there's a window and that is going over there, beaming light in, you can use that to motivate the direction for the light. In this particular occasion, we have these ceiling lights that are given a very clear line. So we led into that and utilized that as our source of where the light was coming from. This was a brick wall, and there are subtle lines of the bricks that are pointing in this direction, and same for this wall over here. Now what that does is create what's called leading lines. Now leading lines are aspects within your frame that guide the viewer's attention as to what you want them to look at, and this is also being done additionally with these lines of the floor separating from the wall and this one here. We've got three leading lines that are all directing the audience at the point of the image that we want them to look at. Next, let's talk about how we actually lit the scene. So this was super simple. As it was a well-lit environment, we were actually trying to control the light opposed to adding lots of extra light into it. And the way that we did it was we motivated from here, as we discussed. We put a fixture just out of frame on this side here and just elevated it up and down so it matched that angle here. What that does is lights this side of the face in full and then just gives some nice shadows and fall off on this side of the face, building depth into the image. But the other way that you build depth is you pull your subject away from the background. For anybody out there that's getting started shooting content, always filming content for themselves, for their personal brand, whatever it may be, this is one really simple tip that I can give you. If you're trying to get a better looking image, get as far away from a background as possible. Don't shoot against a white wall, for example. Building depth into an image, whether that's through lighting or through separating your subject from the background, is going to be one of the key things that's going to make your image look good. So typically on an interview setup, you have what's called 3-point lighting. And that means you have a subject lighting from one angle onto the face. You have a lighting fixture up top, which is giving a hair light and separating the subject from the background. And then you have a third fixture that sits on this side, which is called your fill light. And that takes off the harshness of the shadow on the side of the face. Now on this particular project, we didn't actually need that fill light. We had a well-lit space, so there was plenty of light bouncing around in the environment. All we needed to do was utilize one fixture here, motivate the light from the same direction as this ceiling light here. Then we put a lighting fixture up here, which is called a lantern, which is essentially like the size of a yoga ball, and you pump light into it and it gives you a really soft, diffused, gentle light that hits the shoulder of the subject around here. In terms of the B angle, there's not really a massive amount more to add in addition to that. We've punched in a little bit closer so we can see a little bit more of his face up close and personal. And the reason why you would want a tight like this is twofold. One of which is so when you're editing the interview, if there's any content that you would like to have removed or the subject makes an error, you can cut to that second angle and it masks the imperfection really well. And then the other more advanced reason as to why you would use a tighter angle when you're editing is you'll cut into a tight angle when something important or impactful is being said. Those cuts into a tighter angle are something subtle that the editors can use to really add impact to certain parts of the interview. In terms of audio, this is one of the most important things that you need to consider when shooting an interview. If you've got a great looking frame but the audio sounds like a pile of shit, that is going to kill the viewing experience. Audio is 50% of the experience, so don't neglect it. What I recommend you should always do to make sure that your audio is on point is use 2 microphones. So we always use a lav, we fix it around here or around here, and then we in addition will have a fixture of a shotgun mic which will sit down here out of the frame. Ideally you want it to be about 6 to 12 inches away from your subject's mouth, and that will enable you to capture clean audio. There are 2 reasons why you should capture audio on 2 different microphones. Number 1 is depending on the environment that you're in, a certain microphone will perform better. If you are in an environment where there is a lot of space and the sound might bounce around quite a bit, utilizing a lavalier mic tends to get you a better result than the shotgun mic. However, I would still always recommend using 2 microphones, and that's because you never know what might go wrong. If you've got a shotgun mic and that's in an external recorder or it's in your camera, you never know whether there's a faulty wire or whether the recorder might break or whatever it may be. And same goes for a lavalier mic. If you're just relying on one lavalier mic, you can never be certain that that's not going to break. So as a filmmaker, you should always try and get 2 audio sources to enable you to get clean audio, but also give you redundancy if one of your microphones fails. Little bonus tip for you on audio: if you're out shooting and you capture some audio, be that on your shotgun or your lavalier, and you want to just give it an extra polish and give it that extra touch up, you should go onto Adobe Podcast and use their AI audio enhancer. It's a cracking bit of software where you can plug in your audio files and it will use AI to essentially make that audio file sound like it's been filmed in a studio. We've had numerous different shoots or shooting scenarios, whether we're being outside or in an environment where there's been background noise, and we've utilized this software to clean up our audio quickly, and it does a pretty amazing job. So that gives you a bit of a breakdown of how you can take a simple interview and elevate it to that extra production value level. Any questions about this breakdown, hit me up in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. As always, thank you for watching this channel. If you enjoyed this video, do me a massive favor, warm that head up, headbutt that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Safe.